Hello everybody, this is Jurassic Adventures, and I have just seen Jurassic World Dominion, the ending of the Jurassic saga, and let me tell you, it was a big movie. It was a really big conclusion, and there is a lot to take in. So in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reviewing the movie and sharing my personal thoughts on it. What I'll be doing is I'll be sharing what rating I gave this film, and then I'm going to share my thoughts behind why I gave it such rating. But before we get into that, I want everyone to respect each other's opinions. You may have a differing opinion from me or myself, but please do not attack me or attack anyone, because that is just unkind, and people have different opinions and they should be allowed to share them. I'm also not trying to persuade anyone or diss anyone's opinion. These are just simply my thoughts, and do not take it that way, please. So this review is going to remain spoiler free. It's just going to be pretty general, and if I do reference something, it's something that we have definitely already seen in the trailers. But my rating for this film is a 5.5 out of 10. Now before anyone freaks out, I'm going to justify why I gave it this rating. Starting with the pros of this movie and what I liked about it. Now, there are quite a few good things about Jurassic World Dominion. It definitely was a fun watch. I'm not denying that one bit. It was a fun watch, and it was pretty mindless and easy to follow. It has a lot of fast-paced action and not a lot of downtime, so that makes it quite a bit entertaining. There are tons of cool scenes in this film, no doubt about it. I really did like the cowboy scene with Owen and the Parasaurolophus. Also, the Malta chase was pretty entertaining, as well as the Pyroraptor scene and the therizinosaurus scene were just absolutely epic in my opinion. And that brings us to the next thing I also really like about Dominion, is the dinosaur designs are really cool in my opinion. The Jurassic Park franchise has always done a pretty decent job of making a cool looking dinosaur that, well, isn't always paleo accurate, definitely looks cool, and is a very nice addition to have in a film. I don't think I've ever disliked a dinosaur design in the franchise, except for maybe the Allosaurus in Fallen Kingdom, but Dominion is definitely no exception. There are tons of really great, awesome dinosaur and creature designs in this film. All of the new species looked and acted very cool, and I think they are nice additions to the franchise. There are also a ton of cool animatronics that really did add a little bit more lifelikeness to the film. Not only were the dinosaurs good, but also the visuals and the setting of the film was really nice. With a widespread, diverse film like Dominion with tons of different filming locations and tons of settings, you have a very diverse and visually striking look to the film. From the underground dinosaur markets of Malta to the sanctuary of biosyn in the Dolomites, this film has really awesome settings that really capture a cool aesthetic. And for the inclusion of the old cast, I think it was really nice to see them again in a Jurassic movie, finally. And for new characters, I really did like the inclusion of Kayla Watts, who was a badass pilot, and Ramsey Cole, who was a biosyn worker that fit into the group perfectly. These are all good things, and I'm sure there's many more good things that I'm not listing here, but there are also quite a few flaws in this film, and a lot of wasted potential that makes me give it that 5.5 out of 10 rating. But here, let's go over the cons. Now, while there are a lot of pros, there are inevitably a ton of cons with this movie as well. I think the most notable one would have to be the pacing and predictability of the entire film. As I said before, the film is very action-packed and it moves very fast, which is a pro but also a con. Everything moves very fast and the scenes aren't really fully drawn out, so it almost seems sort of anticlimactic while watching it and very predictable as a result. Because of the fast pacing and the overuse of the action scenes, you end up with scenes that are chaotic and very unrealistic in comparison to even previous scenes in the franchise. And while that might not bother a lot of people, and I know it won't, for me, I personally thought that it just felt a little bit too, not of quality to the franchise, because other scenes in the franchise feel very plausible and realistic in comparison, which is something I feel was just a little bit lacking in this movie. These action sequences also just were back to back to back, and there was almost no character development. I didn't feel like the characters made much of a change throughout this film from when it started. Now, I mean, obviously that's not in every movie where the characters go through a massive change, but in this case, I feel like the character arcs were very shallow and very predictable even, so it just wasn't as thrilling as a result. Some may argue that that is due to spoilers, and while that may be kind of the case, I mean, it still is a very predictable movie. Part of what makes the film so predictable is just the constant repetition of old sort of scenes, just redone in a little bit of a newer style. Now, a lot of these scenes are just reskinned scenes from Jurassic Park that are meant to show nostalgia, but for me, personally, I think what makes nostalgia so special is that it was a special thing that really distinguished that movie. I don't need to see the same scene repeated again to feel that nostalgia, because I still have the nostalgia from the original because it was so good. I really did like the subtle little throwbacks to Jurassic Park, those little details that only the fans would sort of know about, but I think that it could have had a little bit more creativity in the sort of bigger scenes that just looked like a sort of reskin from Jurassic Park. And also the ending with that final battle is just really too repetitive for me, and that is not really a spoiler. That's been hinted at through the prologue and many other films. I mean, it pretty much shares the sort of exact same epic battles with Jurassic World or comparable scenes like that, but it's just too repetitive for me, and I would have liked to see a little bit more creativity with the ending rather than something that just feels like it repeats over and over again in every single movie. Some of the characters they implemented just weren't really in a great way. Like Dachshund, he wasn't a very good character. He just wasn't the same guy from Jurassic Park or even the one you see in the novels at all. He kind of more acted like a crybaby, spoiled brat than the sort of cold, cunning, greedy man he really is. And then the two other antagonists, Rain Delacourt and Soyona Santos, just weren't really great roles in this film. They just felt sort of cheesy and not great characters. Now for my final nitpick, which is just that the animatronic movement and some of the lifelikeness just wasn't there. I know Stan Winston were the absolute masters at sort of making these creatures come to life, but some of these animatronics really looked like something you would see at Universal Studios. They just did not have that sort of smooth mechanical work that the Stan Winston ones had. They almost looked pretty fake in comparison, but they still looked really nice. I did enjoy their inclusion. I'm just saying that the movement probably could have been a little bit better since they had 30 years to sort of upgrade this technology and all of that sort of stuff. Now, I'm sorry if I felt like it was just complaining the entire time. I really don't mean it to come across that way, but I did have pretty high expectations for this franchise just because of the fact that it was the final movie, and it could have been a really, really awesome one, and they could have done it a little bit better, in my opinion, a little bit less rushed, and try not to pack as many details and things in there, and mainly just focused on having a really good, solid, epic closer movie. It's definitely not the worst of the franchise. That would have to go to Fallen Kingdom, in my opinion. Another controversial opinion as well, but I did not really enjoy that movie with the sort of Indoraptor and mansion thing. That was just not a great look for Jurassic, in my opinion. Now, those are all just my thoughts. You definitely don't have to agree with me or have the same opinion, but again, please do not attack anyone. Everyone has different opinions, different thoughts, and that's just the way it is. Now, for my overall thoughts on Dominion, I definitely think it was a fun watch. Definitely go see it. I'm not discouraging you at all to not see the movie. I think you definitely should. See what you think about it, see your opinions. You may agree, you may disagree with me, but either way is completely fine. Just enjoy the movie for what it is. As I said before, I definitely went into the theater with more of a neutral mindset. I did not try and hate on the movie before it even came out. I did not go into the movie trying to pick out flaws or anything. I just went in there with an open mind, just looking to see a fun movie, and it definitely was that, but I think it was quite mediocre compared to some of the other films we've seen in the franchise. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. This is Jurassic Adventures, and go see Dominion, and then I'll see you in the next video.